Well, welcome, folks, to this edition of the 700 Club. And Wendy, we're all agog about yesterday at Regent University. It was a wonderful celebration.
I heard a huge milestone was reached.
A huge 10,000 students at 1:45 in the afternoon. We enrolled the 10,000th student at Regent, up 22% over the year in growth. And about half of them undergrad, half of them graduate students. I mean, it's just marvelous. And well, we'll tell you more about it and show you the celebration, but it was a big deal. And when you hit 10,000 students, you're on the way to something really serious. Well, listen, we have an alarming story for you today. Your smartphone, your computer, your iPad, even your TV could be rigged to spy on you. You think it's turned off and it's not. Who developed it? Guess what? The spooks at the CIA, the Central Intelligence Agency.
Even your television. Scary. All right, well, that revelation was just part of a stunning new report from WikiLeaks, and it could be the biggest leak of secret spy information yet. David Brody brings us the story from Washington.
It's a bombshell that every American can relate to. The feds monitoring your cell phone and even listening in to your private living room conversations. Those revelations came out when someone inside the CIA leaked thousands of documents to WikiLeaks, the international group that publishes secret information and news leaks. They're calling it Vault 7, information from CIA's Center for Cyber Intelligence in Langley, Virginia. Inside, highly secret documents from 2013 through 2016, nearly 9,000 of them, along with several 100 million lines of computer code exposed to the public.
It does look at first sight as if these may well be real documents, and if so, it's a very embarrassing leak for the CIA. The NSA had hit its huge disaster in its terms when Edward Snowden revealed lots of its secrets. It now looks like the CIA has got similar problems with someone revealing its covert technical capabilities.
Those covert abilities show that the CIA could infiltrate iPhones and Android phones, simply bypassing encryption programs on those devices and capturing audio and messages. Smart TVs were penetrated by placing them in fake off mode, but they still remained on, able to record conversations, turning TVs into covert microphones. They also conducted false flag cyber attacks in which the CIA was able to make it look like another country, like Russia, was behind a cyber attack even though it really never was. And the names for some of these cyber programs were straight out of a spy novel. Brutal Kangaroo, Assassin, Hammer Drill, Swindle, and Cutthroat. The source of all of this information told WikiLeaks that the reason all of these secret documents were released was because he or she wanted to somehow spur debate about whether or not the CIA's hacking power had gone too far. Edward Snowden sparked this sort of debate years ago when he pushed out secret documents inside the National Security Agency. But WikiLeaks says that this Vault 7 is just the first series of WikiLeaks document dumps. It's expected to be even bigger than what Snowden revealed. And some experts are warning that these type of spy programs are signs that we're living in a brave new world.
This is scary stuff.
Adam Levin is chairman and founder of the intelligence group Cyber Scout.
We'll take it from here.
Swiped. He says, welcome to the new normal.
The cyber war has replaced the Cold War. And whether we're talking about Russia, China, Iran, North Korea, the US, Israel, everybody's hacking everyone.
And that means this isn't just about government secrets revealed. It's also about a George Orwell Big Brother scenario coming into being all around us.
Every time you pass a billboard, your retina is going to be scanned, and you're going to see an ad. Or a government agency, whether it's us or someone else, could be scanning that retina, gathering that information, and tracking people.
And those WikiLeaks documents appear to be the real deal, too. David Brody, CBN News, Washington.
Thanks, David. We're with us now for more on the WikiLeaks reports is Julian Sanchez. Julian's a senior fellow at the Cato Institute, where he studies technology, privacy, and civil liberties, along with national security. David, welcome to the 700 Club. Look, is this thing illegal, the CIA is doing?
No, not in itself. I mean, the CIA is an intelligence agency. Its job is to spy on people abroad. What would be illegal would be using this domestically. The CIA is supposed to really be almost entirely foreign focused. So the question is, is any of this being used inside the U.S. or is it being used appropriately to target people outside the country who are legitimate targets of foreign intelligence operations? It's not that surprising, frankly, that the CIA maintains these technologies. They have, it sounds like, for the most part, less sophisticated versions of tools we'd already learned about the NSA having. What we haven't seen in this leak, which we did have from the Snowden disclosures, is a sign that it's being used in a very large scale or broad way that's sucking in Americans, which I think would be a greater cause for concern. Well, what I'm worried about is the stockpiling of these vulnerabilities that would be maybe better used by disclosing them to vendors so they can close the loopholes that can be used not just by CIA, but by hackers and foreign intelligence agencies to compromise Americans.
Right. The news is full of the Trump people were in league with the Russians. The Russians were talking to Flynn. Flynn was talking to the Russians. The Russians are hacking Hillary's emails, back and forth. But now we understand they've got false flag stuff that you can act like the Russians were hacking when it's truly the CIA. How does that work?
Well, I thought the focus of what I saw in the documents was a little bit different. What they were suggesting, and this is, I think, kind of basic spy tradecraft, is that essentially if you have a choice between using a tool that is generally out there in the wild already and using something unique that only the CIA has, it's better to use something that other people are also using, so you're not providing a kind of unique fingerprint that says, this is CIA. That's not very surprising that they would try to do that, that they would try to cover their tracks and not make it look like it's CIA. That doesn't necessarily suggest that they're impersonating Russia or in particular, or that any of these particular hacks were CIA-based. That would, I mean, if you thought that before, you could, I guess, speculate about that still now. But I don't think this gives us new reason to think that that's likely to be true.
Well, the word is that they actually have software they can control cars. You can assassinate people, make the car. That's the stuff of science fiction. I've read a book that had just exactly that somebody was taking control of a car and running off a cliff. Can they do that now with the software they've got?
I mean, that was one of the most intriguing things, but also one of the things that there was the least detail about. We know that they have engineering division that is interested in exploring the computers in vehicles. We don't know whether that was primarily about turning on microphones and trying to spy on people through the vehicles, or something more sinister, like trying to tamper with the guidance systems in order to cause a crash. Again, that was something that was really only discussed in one document pretty briefly. We'll see if there's more detail in the additional documents they pledged to be rolling out. But one thing that's interesting, I think, is that they've got an entire division that's devoted to what they call embedded systems. And that's a sign that as encryption makes traditional wiretapping a little bit more difficult, they really are investing seriously in exploiting what's called the Internet of Things, the little computers embedded in all the ordinary devices around us, like our TVs, like our cars, like, increasingly our toasters or our fridges. Because that's a place that there hasn't been as much focus on security. People who make cell phones, smartphones, computers, we have more of a consciousness now that there needs to be regular updates, that those need to be constantly scrutinized for vulnerabilities. I don't think there's the same level of security consciousness in these hundreds and thousands of tiny networked computers that now aren't just standalone devices, but are implanted in other things that we don't even think of as computers.
As I talk to you, you seem fairly relaxed about all this. Scares the daylights out of me to think what the NSA can do, that they're recording all the telephone calls from millions of people in the United States and around the world. They've got databases that are just alarming. Does this frighten you about the future?
Oh. I am certainly frightened about the future and about the incredible architectures of surveillance that our government has constructed, and frankly, the too easy access too many agencies have to these vast databases that are collected. Now, when it comes to this particular leak, I look at this as someone who studies surveillance sort of full time and say, I don't see a whole lot here that is new about their capabilities in any kind of dramatic way. I think, looking at this in a way, the contents of the leak are less surprising, at least, not because it's not concerning, just because it's not really new in a sort of significant way. What is, I think, more important than the contents is the fact that this leaked, the fact that the CIA is developing these tools, and that might be okay if they're using them only in an appropriate way, only to spy on legitimate targets. But if they can't keep these tools safe, if they are learning about vulnerabilities, keeping them for themselves, not telling Apple and Google and Samsung, hey, you've got a vulnerability you should close to protect Americans, and then once they turn those vulnerabilities into weapons, they can't keep them secure. They can't keep those hacking tools from leaking out to WikiLeaks and, presumably getting into the hands of other intelligence agencies. That's a serious problem. That does put Americans at risk.
How does this relate to the executive order that Obama put in just before he left that kind of opened the door so that the agencies could share all this stuff with one another? It had a broad circulation. Does this impinge on that order at all?
Not directly, but so you're talking about revised guidelines for what's called 12333 surveillance. Executive Order 12333, this dates back to the 1980s, is an authority that covers surveillance outside the United States. Inside the United States, there's a series of federal laws that govern what kind of spying intelligence agencies can do. Outside, it's under executive order, and this is about essentially loosening somewhat the restrictions under which other agencies than NSA can get into those databases. And this is really, so it covers that one kind of surveillance. And it's something that had been in the works for years. So this is something that it wasn't something Obama cooked up in the last month before leaving office, but rather something that they had been developing for some years. But I do agree that it is absolutely cause for concern, not just that that new revised guidelines. That wasn't, again, something Obama ordered. It was something that internally they'd been working on for a while. But both that authority and a different authority called Section 702 of the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act both have the problem that they involve very large-scale collection of information targeting foreigners, but includes Americans talking to foreigners. And then there maybe aren't adequate controls on who else in government can get access to that. And that's a concern because, you can imagine something that's gathered for a foreign intelligence purpose, but then someone at a domestic agency like the FBI is allowed to search through those databases using an American's name or an American's identifier to look for communications. I think that does open up a lot of concern and a concern about abuses. We look at all the leaks that have been coming out in the past month, and you have to look at that and say, whether or not there's anything substantively to be concerned about what they're disclosing, how comfortable are we with how easily, apparently, members of the intelligence community can get the contents of people's intercepted communications out to the press?
Julian, thank you so much for being with us with these insights. And ladies and gentlemen, I just want you to know, as we hear these things, I am somewhat alarmed. It's nice to be thought to be safe, but I don't think that's making us safe. When apparently there's this shadow government going on and people in the intelligence community are trying to undermine the Trump administration, and they have all this extraordinary amount of data available on you and on me, and now coming out of your television and on your smartphones. I even heard, it was on the radio today, one of the announcers talking about putting a baby monitor in the men's restroom so he could monitor his associates. I mean, it's just crazy what's going on.
But the average person sitting home watching TV doesn't have to worry about the CIA monitoring what they're saying, what they're doing in their own home, right?
Well, yes, they do. That's what the whole WikiLeaks thing is. Your television, you think it's off, then actually it becomes a microphone and a recording device back into headquarters. And so they share that with the law enforcement. The next thing you know, you make an innocent comment and you're brought in for espionage.
I don't know how they have the manpower or the time to survey all the millions of people.
The NSA, it is limitless, the amount of data. It is beyond human comprehension how much they get. Well, let's get on to something else. If now I scared you enough, let's go to something more fun.
They're going to be pretty bored if they're watching, some of us. All right, well, we've got some exciting news. Regent University hit a huge milestone yesterday. Pat was on hand for this historic event, along with Executive Vice President for Academic Affairs at Regent, Dr. Gerson Moreno-Riano. Let's take a look.
Okay. Hallelujah.
Welcome, everyone. It's a historic moment in the history of Regent University. We are about to make the call for the 10,000 enrolled student. Dr. Roberts, do you want to have her make the call?
Absolutely. Dial the number and let's go.
Hi, this is Xavier with Regent University. I'm looking for Miss Ashley. Hi, Miss Ashley. How are you this afternoon? So I wanted to call you to tell you congratulations. You are our 10,000th student here at Regent University. Yes, so we are so excited for you. We're so excited that you're going to be joining our family.
She's talking to the 10,000th student. When I think the Lord said, build a school for my glory, and our first class, we had 77 students. And over these years, we now have 10,000, and you're not quitting there. We're on the way to 20,000. It's good. So this young lady's being enrolled now as our 10,000th student. And ladies and gentlemen, you are witnessing history. Our staff is here gathered around in our call center. Our TV cameras are here from CBN and also Regent. And I am absolutely overwhelmed. Tears come to my eyes. I cannot believe what I'm seeing. And praise the Lord.
Amen. Praise the Lord.
Thank you. Thank you.
Wow.
What an amazing, it's an amazing school. And we're opening up, there'll be a master's of nursing. We have cybersecurity, a big program.
Cybersecurity is a good one to get into right now.
1 million job openings right now in cybersecurity, 1 million.
Amazing.
And we have cosmogony. We've got
Great communications school.
a huge community. We've got doctorate, and we've got a wonderful MBA program. You know, we've got a doctorate in leadership, strategic leadership, and
The law school is wonderful.
JD, and you can I mean, we have well over 100, almost 200 programs now that we're working on of concentrations, and it's one of the most exciting schools, but it's growing. It's the fastest growing university in America right now.
And it started, it wasn't always called Regent, it was CBN University. It started in 1979?
Something like that.
But it's been around for a while.
It's been about 40 years, however long that is. So it was
from 77 students to 10,000.
Yeah, we had
Awesome.
7 professors and 77 students. The Lord said, build a school for my glory, and here it is. Who would have thought it? Folks, if you are interested, by the way, I've pitched enough because it's very important. You can have online and on-campus degree options, important financial aid. You can come tour our beautiful campus, and it's March the 25th, so it's just a couple more weeks from now. And we've got a preview, and you can come to that, and you'll really enjoy it. It'll be beautiful here then, spring, flowers, and everything's real nice. But you'll learn about America's most exciting Christian university. Okay, spy.
Well, congratulations, your baby's growing up.
My baby, man, he's going up and left the crib and is running races. It's beautiful.
Exciting.